In this video, we're going to work on getting the underside of the body and the firewall painted. So this is what I use to paint underneath the body. Before I put anything on, I got underneath there with degreaser. And then after the degreaser, I scraped all the thick parts off, degreaser and the pressure washer. After that, I got underneath there with some Scotch-Brite and some Simple Green. Then I washed all of that off with just regular soap and water. After the Scotch-Brite and the Simple Green, all the loose rust was off. There was only some of the surface rust left. Nothing rough, everything had been scraped down pretty much at that point. So then I sprayed it with Eastwood's Rust Encapsulator Platinum. This stuff is really, really thick. It has a lot of solids in it. It goes on and it feels like almost like a coat of aluminum. I really was impressed with this. I would highly recommend this. A couple of things: don't use a spray gun that you want to keep. The aluminum in it will stick to the cup of the spray gun, and it's almost like a welding slag. I wouldn't recommend using this. I tried using it in both a regular gravity feed HVLP, and that didn't work very well, so I used a pod system, and that worked great, but it stuck to the aluminum cup of the pod. So I would use a gun, a cheap gun that you can throw away and that you're not worried about it getting messed up. Also, you can't use the filter that's in the gun because there's so many solids in this. It just won't go through a filter. You have to spray it direct. I did thin it. I thinned it with xylene. The directions said between, I think it was 10 and 20%, and I thinned it at 18%. And the consistency was fine, but there's a lot of solids in it. That's why I was saying use a cheap gun, because that stuff does stick, and it goes on, and it was really tough when it was dried. I was very impressed with it. Then I used, to coat over that, I used Eastwood's Extreme Chassis Black. I ended up using 2 quarts, or just about 2 quarts, to spray the firewall and everything underneath the rear wheel wells, the whole everything. I was impressed with this. This is already thin. You just use it. I used the pod gum for this as well because I was spraying upside down. Worked great. It was already thin. The consistency was great. I was pretty impressed with how that went on as well. when you look up the term sketchy in the dictionary, this is what you find. So in this video, I'm going to start taking apart the transfer case for a rebuild. I'm putting in new bearings, new seals, just to be careful inside here. Those are all loose little needle bearings in there. There's your other gear. Yeah. It looks like all apart. Radius arms. This is what comes with the kit. Everything except the 2 coil retainers, those do not come with the kit. I bought those. So what I did was to find actual center, was to put the axle back in place with the radius arms. Then I hung a plumb bob. Mounts located, mocked up, ready to drill the holes out. So I'm going to disassemble this now, and I'll probably flip this up on the rotisserie and use the drill press to drill those holes out. But as you can see, ran into a problem. You can see on the frame here, there's like a triangle of rust. That is where that goes. This is the outside mount. These are bolts. It bends upwards like this, which makes this piece this piece not seat down on the bottom ledge flush. So I need to fix that. And I'm going to fix that by this is the plate for the steering bolt, the steering box support plate. We're about to weld that in. And when I say we, that means my nephew Eric is about to weld that in.
You can take the credit for it, it's okay.
If it comes out good, I'll take the credit.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes.
We got this bracket welded in, and where that black marker is, that's actually the transfer case mount. Bolts on there. And where these bolts are, eventually there'll be a rock slider bolted up to there that goes under the door. And that's what this front mount for is too. A rock slider will bolt up to the outside of that. So that's just a stiffener.